Good evening, everyone. So, this is episode number 7 of Autism DocTalk, wherein we interact with the experts from various fields who cater to autistic individuals and their caregivers. So, yes, as a formality, let me take you through the disclaimer, which says, yes, this is Autism DocTalk, and I'm the host, Dr. Bhavna B. Shinde. So, this means that whatever information is shared here shouldn't be considered as individual medical advice, and whatever issues you are facing, so those need to be sorted through your own medical practitioners. Okay, and again, so whatever has been endorsed, discussed on this platform by the experts, I as a host may not be endorsing that or may not be promoting that. So today I'm very excited to welcome our guest who is Dr. Mitali Vaidya. Why I'm so excited, let me tell you. So all our guests till date had been very ably and relentlessly catering to individuals with autism and their caregivers. But here today we have someone, a professional, a doctor who has been having her own glorious career. Along with that, she is the one who is living with the person with autism, and she very well understands this side of autism care. So, without a further ado, let me welcome Dr. Mitali Vaidya.
Hello.
Hi, Mitali.
Hi. Okay. Can I?
So, first and foremost, thank you so much. Let me tell you, you have been a source of inspiration for me since the day we met first. If you remember, we had arranged a play date for our kids, Thane,
Yeah,
your
right.
forte. So, that was the time I met Omkar, and I saw the wonderful bonding, and you seriously have been an inspiration for me and many of us. So not only because you have been consistent with your career, you have climbed up the stairs of your career, and at the same time, you have been a wonderful hands-on mother. So today, I'm gonna get as much as information from you as I can, and yes, you also have completed your RDI therapy. I'm definitely gonna talk about it later, but first, I would like to know it from you. How is it being an autism mother? Tell me something about that.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So, and to your question, is in how do you? I mean, how is it to be an autism mother? So, I think it is. It is a I mean, it is definitely a challenge that you, and it could be a little more challenging at times and less challenging at other times. But it is when you see your children learn and go ahead, be it at any speed. And for me it is like really observing a miracle in front of me, like being from a medical background. So we have always learned about neurology, and those were all words in the books. And but here, when after the diagnosis and when you see the therapies working, and then you see your child coming out of the initial problem and beginning to learn things, as and then you actually see that through all those difficulties, when they are making an attempt and learning new thing, and you are celebrating these little victories. If you are able to focus on these victories, I think it is a very enjoyable journey. It doesn't have to always be something which gives stress. Of course there are challenges, and there are times when you really have to work through and think what you will do. But overall, there's a lot of hope, because their children themselves are trying to go ahead, and then you give them that support. And you can see it is being, for me it is definitely observing miracle every day that happens, something new which is learned. And yes, it has been a very positive journey for me.
Yes, you talked about two things, Mitali. The first, when you said that at their own speed, at their own pace, which is very important. And this is a very strong message if uh, other parents who are the parents to the autistic kids, if they can get this and understand this, they have their own speed, they have their own pace, and they can see it's not about where they have start, it's not about where they are standing in comparison with other kids. It's
Absolutely.
all about where the child has started alone.
Very true, very true.
So yes, and second thing, when you said that celebrating small,
Victory.
comparatively, apparently, small victories, yes, ask me. I have even celebrated when Kaiser started jumping
Very, because
at the age of
I think
4.
it is really right, because for them it is quite a bit. For example, autism is a spectrum, and so in whenever we come together in groups, like be it a special school or a regular school or any other area where a lot of special kids and moms are together. You'll always find some who have slightly, say, more skill, maybe a little more skills than your child, or maybe they might have certain lesser challenges. So, but they have their individual journey where they are working hard. Whereas, so you sometimes, the other parents can feel that, oh, my child is not doing this, that all are
Hmm.
special kids, but at least they are doing this, but my child is not even speaking or not even doing this. But I'm sure even those at the higher end of the spectrum have their own challenges which they are struggling through, and as well as children on maybe on the other end of the spectrum are also trying their best. So if we can see that journey, as you said, that from where they started, then we'll be really be able to appreciate the amount of
Hmm.
difference that is there, and that makes us feel good, and when we feel good, that is automatically reflected on the children, and they are, I think,
Yes.
motivated for
This was very powerful, Mitali. Even I think this is not only for the special parents; it is
any
for
parent.
all parents. All parents. So, in our community of special parents, I have seen mothers, as you rightly mentioned, that my son has less of autism, or my son has a more of autism. And so this kind of things, when they say that my son is not doing this, your son is doing this, so I think this should stop somewhere, because all kids are different. And moreover, as you mentioned, it's a spectrum. You never know where the child is lying currently on the spectrum. So the target should be wherever he is today. So if he can make a progress every day
Yes.
in his own lane, so that's important. So that was very powerful. Mitali, you also have uh, an experience of having a neurotypical child as well, so which I do not have any idea about. So I would like to understand if it is different to raise a neurotypical child and an autistic child. If yes, how it is?
So it is like, same but different, that kind of a feeling. So
Yes.
definitely, just like any two children are different, each one has their own strengths and difficulties. So challenges, I
Yes.
would say that yes, both there it is there in both kids, and there are different challenges which we have to deal with, different fears that we have to address in both the children in different ways. Something which
Hmm.
remains same is the discipline, the rules that are set, that this has to be done this way, it has to be done, they remain the same. Maybe some extra efforts have to be taken for a child with autism as regards someone who doesn't have. Also, as they grow up, probably the one who does not have autism may get a little more independent. That happens.
Hmm.
So they get a little more independent, and they are able to, as they grow up, they start. And maybe the child with autism, we still have to work a lot, and we still have to give them a lot more amount of time than the others. But essentially, I think the all that we worry about, the concerns and all, they may be different, but for me, I really don't see a huge difference in managing children without autism. But on the positive side, I feel when you have a neurotypical child, uh, you can understand that sometimes some behaviors which you label as resistance or challenging behaviors in a child with autism are not necessarily autism due to autism or something. They are behaviors because they are children. So when you see
Yes.
even your typical child doing that, you are really feel okay. So it is something which is common. It is not so you don't have to address every resistance. So it is like that. So I think that it helps you to treat them as children rather than just someone with autism. That helps in a way.
Very rightly said, because overall sometimes we forget that the certain behaviors are child specific, age
Yes.
specific, and not
Age
autism
specific.
specific.
Yes. Age
Yes,
specific.
yes,
Very right.
we tend to forget that. So again, this is a take home message, a huge take home message. If people can understand, if I can understand that certain behaviors are actually age specific, at the end of the day he is a child. Yes, yes. So
Because many of the times, I mean, when typical kids say, "No, I don't want to do this," we take it at that. Okay, they don't want to do it. Whereas if a child with autism does that, we take it as resistance and we think about behaviors and what not to do and all. So sometimes we have to see. Of course, it's only because these behaviors are a little more which is with autism, but somewhere we have to put a balance between what exactly are we expecting and how much should we how much amount of compliance should we expect from the child. So that is
yes, and over the time, parents like me should learn what to let go and what not to.
what not to
So
do.
yes, yes. So, Mitali, thank you for that. This is really going to help the parents. And the question of my interest. So, how did you balance your own profession? You are a diabetologist. You have been working with a hospital, and also balancing your motherhood duties and also domestic duties. So, tell us something about that. How did you manage
So
that?
definitely one. I had just finished my post graduation when Omkar was diagnosed. So I went full on into his therapy. At that time, I really did not consider about getting back to my profession. But somewhere down the line, I would definitely stress family support here. My family
Mhm.
fully supported me, and that is required because if you have to, because you can always depend upon help or assistance from outside because they you can hire help, but then that is just like this COVID told us, it is like it is always you cannot always unpredictable what can happen, but if your family is there with you then you can really do anything. So it was my parents, my in-laws, my husband, everyone who said that okay, we'll support you in every way we do, but you start because you're and I did have hesitation that I then it might lead to my neglect towards Omkar or something. But then when I finally started again, I think I mean it was a great decision that I took because it is necessary because when we are growing up and we are going through all of our we are learning and all, we always have these dreams and all, and then uh, if we feel that okay, because of this, because my child has autism I was not able to do, we are always going to blame it on that I wasn't able to do this because of it. Then we also start, I think somewhere we start looking at or judging our success and failures only on our child, completely focus on that.
Yes.
That happens that okay, if so, I think if of course we have to see to it that when we are away our child is taken care of, that is the priority. We have to ensure that either with family, with school or whatever, he is in a safe he or she is in a safe and positive area. Definitely we have to see that, but once you can see and if we want to, we can find a way that you can get it. And even for a little time at least, if we are able to practice our profession or engage in whatever we have learned up till now, be it any profession, I think it really leads you to a huge amount of mental peace, and self esteem is higher, and you feel good about that, and then I think you're able to focus on your children a lot better than that. So I feel if it is possible, definitely we should try to balance the two. At least try to see what way we can balance the
I can
profession of your kids.
I can fully relate to the fact that when you said that we actually try to relate our success and failures with the progress of the child. I think once we stop doing that, we would be at peace,
Yes.
professionally as well as personally. So, with that, Mitali, I have a question for you. Was there any moment of insecurity or a moment of doubt, you as a mother, when you started working again as a
No,
mother?
actually, because I think, yeah, I mean, definitely because he used to be either in school or at home with people who ensured of his safety and care. So, and I tried to manage my hours so that I wasn't away for a long time. So, luckily for me, I could do that. But sometimes, I mean, yeah, at times you do feel okay, this time maybe I should have worked, but I think later on you understand that this time is also important for you, and then whatever time you have, I think you are able to give it uh, better justice because you are fulfilled in yourself with what you have done.
Wow, I don't know if only had happened to me because whenever I was at work, I used to feel guilty. Okay, my child is at home; he needs extra care, and I'm thinking of my career. And whenever I was with him, I always kept thinking, no, I want to work. I want to go to achieve the things which I always wanted to. In a way or certain way, I am an ambitious person, and I'm quite unapologetic about that. So there had been a struggle between me as a mother and me as a careerist. So this struggle went for a long time in my case, but yes, gradually I matured over the time, and I started, as I mentioned earlier, I started learning and what to let go and what not to.
Yeah.
So once I got a clarity in my own head, so I just neglected what others say or how the world is reacting.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yes, I think every parent has his or her own journey and they learn through it. As we say, autism is a spectrum. I think parenthood is a bigger spectrum. So we have our own starting points and our own struggles. So Mitali, one more question I have for you. You talked about RDI. So, if
Yes.
you could explain in details for our viewers what RDI is and how it helps. So, to remind you, we have two audiences majorly: healthcare professionals, the doctors, I mean, and the autism caregivers.
Right. So actually, I came across RDI when my son was around 2.5 or 3, around almost 3. So someone just mentioned, and then I just looked into it, and then what I found, I was interested, so I started uh, consulting with an RDI consultant for my son, and that is the time I really got interested in the way RDI approaches autism. So here. I mean, it is known that autism, along with all its symptoms and all, it is a processing disorder where you do have sensory motor dysfunction, or so that children may require some more time to process what we generally do it in a much lesser time. So what happens is that when they are growing up, right, when they are around that 1 to 2 years of age, when they start noticing things around them and all, so some because of some of these neurological vulnerabilities, that is processing disorders, because they are not able to process the world around them and react just like the others, somewhere they start falling back, and we as parents we're not aware of them of that at that time, because none of us know. So by the time we can see that they are not responding, they're not actually coming to us for sharing things and all. So then we get the diagnosis, and also generally what happens is we start overcompensating for them, right? We give a lot of instructions. We do not give them that amount of time to think and react. So also there are these two types of intelligence that we consider, that is static intelligence and dynamic intelligence. Like static intelligence is something which we deal with names of things, how to do things, something which has a single answer or single way of doing things, right? So that is generally taken care of when we train the children. But dynamic intelligence is something which is beyond the static. Dynamic is where, when they learn how to monitor their surroundings, to interpret the body language, the gestures of people around them. So to interpret signals, as in, if this is, for example, if we are throwing ball, so if we say that, okay, throw ball, that is static, answering to an instruction. So, but if we just stand like that, with our hands extended, and you wait for them to think, okay, what would it mean? My mother is standing in front of me and just waiting with her hands outstretched. What would it mean? And then they go for it. Then they actually think for themselves. They have the time to stop and process all of this, and then they throw the ball. Then the entire thing is done by themselves. Now, this is just one example. So when in RDI, parent and the child is always, so RDI is actually a short form of for relationship development intervention. So
Hmm.
this is a parent-based therapy, and the relationship that we are talking about here is the guiding relationship between parent and the children. So essentially, see, right after they are born, throughout their childhood up to their adulthood, what we are doing is, and even later actually, what we are doing is we are training them to live life. So it could
Yes.
be schooling, it could be home, daily living skills, or anything. What we do is we train our children to live life by themselves. That's the whole idea of parenting, and we do it
Yes.
naturally. We get teachers and we do things for teaching them certain static skills, but essentially we bring up children. We don't need someone to train us for that. But with autism, somewhere that confidence is lost for the parents to be able to get bring just guide their children through everyday life. So RDI reconnects that natural parenting instinct. It teaches the
Okay.
parent and the child is considered as a team. It is not that the child is autism, get him to a therapist, then train him and then get back. So parents and children are treated as a team. There are parent objectives as well as child objectives which go hand in hand. So it is a co-participation always. So where parents are, guided how to guide that. So the consultant guides the parents to guide the child. So it is like that. And so they are taught how to pause, to slow down, to let the child think, to let the child develop agency. Agency is something where the child starts to, it is upon him to understand and do it accordingly. And so the parent is taught to tune into the child. So when we say that this resistance, like he doesn't do things, so this is taught, the parents are taught to, or rather guided to read the resistance as feedback that the
Hmm.
child is telling you, I'm not feeling competent enough to do this. Although you have been, say, maybe, okay, you have taught me, but I am not feeling competent. So when mostly typical children are able to convey that, they will, wherever they're feeling competent, they will come forward and say, I want to do this. Wherever they're not feeling competent, they will tell you, I don't know how to do this. But this clarity is not there in our children, or they are not able to express. So they express it
Hmm.
as resistance. So the parents are taught that resistance doesn't mean that the activity is not working out. It just means that you have to simplify it further. So they are guided how to do that, so that you meet at a place where your child feels competent enough to take that just next step. Where, and when you go through several such, so the brain is like, it is all, it is, there's a lot more gray cells than we actually use. So these pathways which are not really being used up. So it has a neurological basis to it, the entire therapy. It has an actual developmental and neurological basis to it. So here, when again, time and again, the child and the parent are using these pathways, where the parent is giving the just right support, just so much that the child feels that, motivation to take the next step. Then
Yeah.
yeah, so that is something which is the beauty of the entire therapy. So it is sometimes called as untherapy, because it's something you do throughout the day. But yes, you are guided slowly, so that it's difficult, because autism not only affects the child, it affects the parents and the entire family. If you see the way the parents also deal with the children, sometimes becomes only through instructions or questions. They somehow it blunts the ability to share experiences because you don't get that kind of response from the child. So both the child and the parents are guided in such a way that that relationship is restored, which creates a
Wow.
very beautiful bond for not just emotional bond but also for guiding through whatever we want to teach them. Then the static skills, definitely they need the static skills, they are anyways have to be taught, but this is somewhere where we work on the motivation for the child to learn. Sometimes we feel, we very often hear that okay, he's learning, but then left to himself he will not do anything, or he
Hmm.
will he is
Yeah.
interested in only certain restricted things, but not when what I want to teach him, he won't listen to me. Or whenever I get something new, he or she just runs away or will not look. So these are because they are not really feeling competent to handle challenges. So in RDI, the way the parent-child relationship is guided through, this motivation is worked upon, and the dynamic skills like problem solving, monitoring, understanding what is expected. So these dynamic skills are worked upon with properly defined objectives, where the consultant guides the parents to do that. So that is the main foundation of RDI.
Okay. Wow. 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 So, Mitali, if I have to summarize this, can I say this? RDI basically trains a parent to be a natural parent. So, as we
Yes,
understand that we have lost the natural way of parenting because of the fast paced world around us. So,
yes,
our parenting has got corrupted. So, RDI brings the parent back to the natural parenting. So, wherein they in turn are enabled to make the child learn through static and dynamic ways of
yes,
learnings, and thereby making the child express more and more and
yes.
think and teach how to think.
Yeah, that's very true. That they teach you how to think, and that is how they make you ready for the dynamic world outside. So, see, sometimes we have
Yes.
rules like we say, no, with children with autism, use only literal meaning, and yes, it is helpful so that that it is easier for them. But or you have to set routines and work along them, but sometimes the world outside may not be exactly the way you want them for them. So the world is
Hmm.
messy, right? It is continuously changing. Something will might fall short, something might change suddenly. So idea, because you're working on dynamic skills, it helps you to deal with the changing world outside for them as you work
And
through
as,
throughout the years. Yeah.
and as I understood, as the name itself is suggestive of relationship development or relationship uh, intervention, so
Yes,
that I suppose help to build a relationship between the parent and the child,
yes, right.
a
And
healthy
see,
relationship.
every child learns with the parents first. Even when you see
Yeah.
little children, they'll first learn to play with parents. Then they will learn to play with slightly older adults, and then with the peers. So once they have practiced these dynamic skills with the parents, they are feeling much more competent to use the same outside when they have to deal with the world outside. Like for example, employment. When we are, because here anyways we are whatever we are doing to, so that they can live an independent or at least an interdependent life afterwards, as once they're adults. So they have the skills, but employment may be a problem because problem with dynamic skills. So that they're able to use whatever they are good at even outside without any help required. They can do it. So in employment, in friendships, these dynamic skills are really important in
Yes,
outside
yes,
relationships.
yes, yes. So, I think this would help the parents as well as healthcare professionals to understand what RDI is. Can I say that this RDI is a newer concept than the other therapies?
Yes, it has been for some years, but yes, it is a newer concept mainly because it also objectively deals with the dynamic skills. It is something which is considered as something that you need to work upon step by step, along with the static skills. So that is an additional part to it. Yes.
Okay, great, great, Mitali. So even I wasn't aware of this the concept of RDI to this depth. Thank you for making us aware. And we are at the last segment of the discussion. So, what message would you like to give to the healthcare professionals as per autism care is concerned?
Yeah. I think it would be, I mean, definitely they are all very good at what they do, and they have their, I mean, that from for me to say anything, I don't know how proper would that be, but I would definitely like the healthcare professionals to also look into the dynamic skills part. So,
Mm-hmm.
where the dynamic skills are really, for us, we take it for granted. I mean, we just don't think how we thought through it. For anything
Yes.
we so many a times what happens is parents, what they do is that they let the children learn the skills. The very children are very good at skills, but the in between part, that is where the parents come in and overcompensate, either the parents or the teachers or the typical adults around. They
Mm.
will rush in and do the problem solving part and just leave the skills to the individuals with autism. So, and then they feel it, I mean, they still feel gratified, but I think we should not stop there. We should not, that is, I mean, we can even go beyond that, where they are really being able to, actually get into friendships and relationships and hold employment, much more than what they are doing now. For example, now probably it is, for some of the on the higher end of the spectrum are able to do it, but here what I'm talking about is not needing a lot of help from typical adults to fill in
Mm-hmm.
these gaps. These gaps is what can be worked upon right from childhood. And it doesn't matter if your child is verbal, non-verbal, or how much amount of, maybe whether they are into academics or not. It doesn't matter at all. These dynamic skills should be available to each and, I mean, working on these dynamic skills should be available to each and every person with autism, because there is a problem over there. Static skills, some are very good at that, some may not be. That goes on. But I think that dynamic skills is something, that part is definitely impaired in almost every individual with autism in some or the other amount. So they should be worked up. If we can work on them upon them objectively, uh, I think it's definitely worth giving it a consideration and looking into this part.
Yes, sure, sure. And my last question to you: what message would you like to give to the parents of children with autism?
Yeah, okay. Now that's a big thing, because first thing is, yes, there is a lot happens with. I mean, we should definitely count our blessings in the way that, there's a lot that we can teach, and there's a lot that our children with autism can learn and get ahead with. Definitely, there are challenges, but I think if you look out for the right resources, you will find them, and you will able to get over them. I would definitely advise, like, that in Thana we have a group of parents, and we are run an organization which is led by one parent who actually founded it, Mrs. Manisha Seegal, and Rajan's foundation. We are a group of parents who come together for lots of things with our children. Now, I think that is really essential, because when you have people who can share the joys that you have, so sometimes the other person may not understand what you're really feeling good about, that
Yes.
one word my child said or one thing that he did. But when you are with people who are in similar, facing similar challenges, it is great. So I really think you should have group support. Of course, families should support the parents in any way they can, but having a group for your support and sharing your challenges as well as your joys is simply great. It is like another family for us, and it has really given us a lot of confidence. And when we look at the older children, we feel a lot of hope that, okay, there's so much that they can achieve and we can work out. So keep working. Definitely look into static and dynamic skills. uh, Get yourself known into what is available, what is there outside to help your child. And keep a positive approach, and I'm sure that if you are positive and you are appreciative of everything that they do, then that will reflect on them too. they can definitely get that vibes from us. So it is important to see, as we started, what we discussed when we started, that where they are from where they started, rather than where they are in the general spectrum. So with that, I think their as well as our lives will be much more happier.
Yes, yes, yes.
There's no limit.
So
We can always keep working, and every time you can see positive results.
being in the community matters, and hence I am in the community of yours when you had sent me the invite for Rajanse Foundation, and I really enjoy being with uh, Hamdards.
Or, yeah, I
So
wouldn't
where they
really
can,
go, but
where
there's
they
no.
can understand whenever I jump when Kaiser says something, and I'm like, oh my god, when I celebrate something and they completely relate to why am I so excited about something very, for others seemingly very simple as blowing or jumping. And so I think that that's the importance of community, and everyone should be in the community, whichever community they want to be.
Ah,
So that they can share their joys and take help from each other, and also in case of certain mental health conditions which can be a part of the parents who are
yes,
taking
very
care
true.
of special children, so they can take help on that aspect too.
And when somebody else who's in a similar situation tells you that don't worry, things will sort out, it makes a whole lot of difference than someone who's not in the similar situation telling you. Because then you feel that okay, it's all easy for you. But when you are there with similar parents who are facing similar challenges, you really get a lot of hope from them. That okay, this she's been able to do it, he's been able to do it. Okay, so one day, we'll get there. That kind of thing. So it really helps.
As yes, as we get inspired from you. So thank you so much, Mitali. It was for me. It was a personal connect, and I could actually show to the world that there are people like us who are, always celebrating, and our world is not all about depression and doomed kind of world. When it's a real fact.
Yeah.
When people interact with me, oh, I'm so sorry to know that your child is autistic. I'm like, what?
No, we are not sorry about that. So, and really telling you, I mean, it's like you just look at them like any other child. Okay, सबके challenges हैं, so we can just go ahead with that. Yes,
Sometimes I feel like saying, although I have stopped reacting to such reactions, so sometimes I feel like saying that, see, he is not sorry about what he is born with. I'm not sorry about that he is my son, and I think no one should be sorry about that.
absolutely. And each one, I mean, each child, be it any whether typical, non-typical, whatever, they have their own strengths, and I think it's the very fact that every day they are trying to get better from what they were is worth celebrating. And that's
Yeah.
very good.
So thank you so much, Mitali, for being here for us, for being here for me, and for being here the cause we share in common. So thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much.
Yeah, so it's my
And
privilege. Thanks a lot for
and if
inviting.
and if someone wants to connect to you or want to go for your consultation, I shall provide your contact details in the description box.
Yeah, yeah, sure. You can give my email and phone number.
Thank you again, and keep inspiring us.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
think
you.
every
Bye.
parent is an inspiration. I mean, every parent with, taking care of a child is an inspiration in every way. So, lots of power to all of us.
Yes. Thank you.